The day America stood still. JFK's assassination and the rise of LBJ. November 27, 1963. A day that would forever be etched into the collective memory of the United States. It was a calm, sunny day in Dallas, Texas. President John F. Kennedy, a leader brimming with charisma and optimism, had arrived in the city as part of a political campaign tour to solidify his support for re-election. Just 3 years into his presidency, Kennedy had captured the hearts of millions with his youthful charm, visionary leadership, and progressive ideals. The nation was on edge, however, as the Cold War loomed in the background. The Cuban Missile Crisis had only recently been resolved, and tensions between the US and the Soviet Union were still high. Domestically, the civil rights movement was in full swing, challenging the country's deeply rooted segregationist traditions. America was a nation in flux, and Kennedy was the symbol of its hope for a brighter future. But that hopeful future came crashing down on this fateful day. This documentary tells the story of how the assassination of John F. Kennedy triggered a dramatic sequence of events, forever altering the course of American history. It explores the impact of that heartbreaking moment, the rise of Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson as the 36th president, and how this fresh chapter in U.S. politics ushered in profound changes, including the passage of transformative legislation. Dallas, November 22, 1963. Kennedy's motorcade wound its way through the streets, greeted by enthusiastic crowds cheering for the President and First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy. It was meant to be a triumphant appearance in a state where Kennedy's approval had been waning. The blue convertible limousine carrying the Kennedys and Texas Governor John Connally rolled lazily through Dealey Plaza. Suddenly, 3 shots rang out in quick succession, shattering the festive atmosphere. The first shot missed, the second struck Kennedy in the back, and the third, a fatal bullet, hit the president in the head. Confusion reigned as horrified onlookers screamed, ducked for cover, and pointed toward the Texas School Book Depository building. It was there that a sniper, Lee Harvey Oswald, perched above the motorcade, had fired the shots that ended Kennedy's life. Chaos overtook the scene. Secret Service agents scrambled to assess the situation, while Jacqueline Kennedy, distraught and covered in her husband's blood, refused to leave his side. Governor Connally was severely injured but survived. The motorcade sped to Parkland Memorial Hospital, where frantic efforts to save Kennedy could not prevent the inevitable. At 1:00 p.m. Central Time, John F. Kennedy was declared dead. America had lost its 35th president. As the truth of Kennedy's assassination spread, shockwaves rippled across the world. Television networks interrupted regular programming with grim announcements. The president was gone. The American people were plunged into disbelief, sorrow, and a profound sense of fragility. Who would lead them now? Could the country hold itself together in the face of such tragedy? On board Air Force One, Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson faced immense pressure to step into the void left by Kennedy. In a moment symbolic of both mourning and resilience, Johnson took the presidential oath of office at 2:39 p.m., just hours after the assassination. Jacqueline Kennedy, still wearing her blood-stained pink suit, stood at Johnson's side, physically embodying the nation's heartbreak. This hastily arranged ceremony underscored the urgency of maintaining stability during one of America's darkest hours. For Johnson, the weight of leadership was immediate and inescapable. He had to demonstrate to the nation and the world that the United States government remained intact despite the tragedy. The image of Johnson's somber inauguration captured the intensity of the moment: a grieving widow, a solemn leader, and a nation in mourning. In the days that followed, the country came together in collective grief. Millions watched the televised coverage of Kennedy's funeral, which included heart-wrenching shots of young John F. Kennedy Jr. saluting his father's casket. It was a time of extraordinary unity as Americans grappled with their own fears, uncertainty, and pain. The outpouring of emotion crossed international borders. Messages of support poured in from across the globe as leaders and citizens alike expressed solidarity with the U.S. In remembering Kennedy, many mourned the loss of promise he represented, a symbol of racial progress, international diplomacy, and youthful vitality. However, amid the sorrow, darker questions arose. How had Kennedy's security failed so utterly? Were there conspiracies behind his death? Investigations began almost immediately, with the Warren Commission launched to officially examine the tragic event. The findings, which identified Lee Harvey Oswald as the lone gunman, did little to quell public speculation about possible larger plots, a controversy that lingers to this day. While the nation grieved, Lyndon B. Johnson faced the monumental task of transitioning into office. For a man who had often been overshadowed by Kennedy's dynamic presence, the shift to the forefront of American politics came under extraordinary circumstances. Johnson inherited not just a grieving nation, but also the complexities of a divided political landscape and a mounting civil rights crisis. Johnson's approach to leadership differed starkly from Kennedy's. Where Kennedy was charismatic and idealistic, Johnson was pragmatic and relentless. He recognized that stabilizing the nation required continuity, but it also offered him an opportunity to carry forward Kennedy's legacy while crafting his own. Within the context of the presidency, Johnson's political acumen began to shine. He understood the gravity of the moment and sought to reassure the American people, not only by honoring Kennedy's memory, but also by seizing the opportunity to push for substantial legislative reforms. The implications of Kennedy's assassination ran deep, leaving behind a changed America. One of its immediate impacts was the re-evaluation of presidential security. The Secret Service underwent sweeping reforms to ensure no future president would face a similar fate. Likewise, the trauma of the day solidified the role of mass media in shaping national narratives, as Americans collectively turned to their televisions for information and solace. Investigations into the assassination, most notably the Warren Commission, led to conclusions that Oswald acted alone. Yet, decades later, unanswered questions and theories of conspiracy dwell in the public consciousness. Was there more at play than the actions of a solitary gunman? Such speculation persists, highlighting the emotional scars left behind. More importantly, the assassination paved the way for LBJ to push America into a new political direction, one defined by sweeping change. Rising from the shadow of a charismatic predecessor, Johnson wielded his considerable political skills to make his mark. Johnson's presidency, shaped by tragedy, quickly became one of action. Grasping the weight of the trust placed in him, Johnson set out to pay homage to Kennedy's vision while pursuing a bold agenda of his own. In his first address to Congress, just days after Kennedy's death, Johnson made his mission clear. No memorial oration or eulogy could more eloquently honor President Kennedy's memory than the earliest possible passage of the Civil Rights Bill for which he fought so long. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 became one of Johnson's crowning achievements, outlawing discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. This landmark legislation, initially championed by Kennedy, defined Johnson's presidency and marked a turning point in the nation's history. It signaled a significant step towards greater equality during a time when the civil rights movement faced staunch resistance. Beyond civil rights, Johnson launched his ambitious Great Society programs, tackling poverty, education, and healthcare. His vision included Medicare, Medicaid, and initiatives that aimed to close the wealth gap and improve the quality of life for Americans. Each of these programs was deeply influenced by the urgency thrust upon him when he took office that somber day in 1963. While Johnson earned praise for his domestic reforms, his presidency was later overshadowed by controversy surrounding the Vietnam War. Nonetheless, the legislative milestones he achieved during his administration were transformative, reshaping the American social and political landscape. The sudden ascension of Johnson to the presidency reveals much about leadership in moments of crisis. His ability to rise to the occasion, providing direction and reassurance, speaks to his resilience under impossible circumstances. Yet it also highlights the stark realities of leadership: the burden of responsibility, the urgency of quick decision-making, and the delicate balance of maintaining continuity while carving a new path. Kennedy's life and death left an indelible mark on the collective psyche of the nation. But so too did the reaction of the American people and Lyndon Johnson in the aftermath. Out of tragedy emerged lessons of unity, resilience, and the significance of decisive leadership. The events of November 22, 1963, continue to occupy a central place in American history. To this day, John F. Kennedy remains an enduring symbol of idealism, progress, and unfulfilled promise. His assassination stands as a grim reminder of the fragility of power and the randomness of history's twists and turns. For Lyndon B. Johnson, the tragedy provided both a challenge and an opportunity. His rapid advancement from vice president to commander-in-chief forced him to take the reins at a moment of national despair, yet it also allowed him to preside over some of the most transformative moments in U.S. history. Ultimately, the story of JFK's assassination and LBJ's rise to power is one of resilience and renewal. It is a testament to the strength of democracy and the enduring spirit of a nation that, even in the face of profound sorrow and loss, continues to strive for a better future. November 22, 1963, a day when time seemed to stand still. A day when America lost a president but found its determination to press forward. Dive into history with us for a closer look at this monumental transition. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insightful content.